program is proudly brought to you by Datec PNG Limited.
In this session of Infocus, we feature discussions with Manavi Gene, a land study specialist.
Manavi Gene, thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.
Now, firstly, Manavi, what would you say are the main problems or pressures currently driving calls for customary land reform in Papua New Guinea?
Customary land reform, which you just mentioned, I believe has to do with population increase mainly. You know, back in the 75s, 80s, the population was reasonably low. So the infrastructure and the government services can accommodate the population pressure at that time. But 50 years on, so much has happened in all urban areas. So obviously there will be a need for more land, and so the pressure is there for government to expand, to provide services that the population required. So I see one of the main reasons for the reform which the current government is about to undertake was due to population pressure. That there's a need for land to be brought into the economic front for development. And so population is one thing, Malcolm, insofar as my observation is concerned. Secondly, the need to expand or utilize land for economic development, such as agro-industries, semi-sectors, coffees, cocoa and copra. We need to have a clear policy outline on how we can continue to acquire land for such development. So the need for economic expansion and the population growth, all one way or the other, all in all, is something that needs to be addressed by the government to increase productivity. And I say this particularly with regard to the problems urban areas face, you know. And let's be specific. In terms of population growth, one thing that is very obvious is being able to provide housing in an urban setting. And that's where, you know, most of the land acquired in the colonial eras has been all fully occupied. And so there is a need, obviously there's a need to expand beyond the state boundaries to acquire more land. So, yeah, population is one big factor that is pushing government agencies into looking at acquiring more land. And there's no other way except to deal with customary landowners around more, especially around the urban areas.
How would you describe how our founding fathers captured land reform and the importance of land in our constitution?
If you look at the way our land laws are framed, it gives Papua New Guineans, especially the customary land law, it does not necessarily remove everything away. But customary landowners can register their land under freehold interest. That's one area. And of course, the good thing about that is customary land will always revert back to the landowners if they go into an arrangement, business arrangement with a third party or fourth party or an expatriate or entity. After the duration of the lease agreement, the land must always, even if it's mortgage, that mortgage will have to, at the end of the day, revert to the customary landowner. So that's a good thing about how our laws were drafted, especially with regard to customary land. That still gives total ownership to the customary landowners, as opposed to land that has been annexed, reshunned, or taken away by the colonial government back then, which is now crown land or state land. That's different. But with the customarily landowners, it always goes back. It always goes back. Ownership remains after expiry of the lease, after whatever contract arrangement. It always goes back to the landowners. And that's the upper hand we continue to have insofar as customary land ownership is concerned.
Now, recently, Honorable Kit Iduhu, who is the chairman of the PNG Customary Land Review Committee, just recently presented a customary land reform bill in Parliament, which notably calls for the creation of a PNG Customary Land Authority, a separate entity from the DLPP or the Department of Lands and Physical Planning. Are you concerned that this may be another duplication of government functions, or do you think this is a step in the right direction?
Honorable Kit Iduhu's proposed bill is a right step in the right direction. So much has happened, so basically it tries to address the problems that this country has been facing. But when I look at it, the bill in its current state, it needs more fine-tuning. It's a good bill, right, for the right purpose, for a good reason. I say this because in the opening part of that bill, you'll see one of the statements that came out in that bill says any customary land that is not properly or legally acquired has to be reverted to the landowners. In my opinion, that needs to be fine-tuned. That statement has to be fine-tuned. Acquisition, time factor comes in here. Acquisition, whether legally or not legally done, prior to independence, should remain as state land. After independence, this bill should be. So that timing of it should be also inserted in the bill. Because when we allow that to just pass through without looking at it critically, then any acquisition that has been done prior to independence will fall. Some acquisitions of some land that is around the country is not properly acquired. We don't have that full records in the Department of Lands, I believe. And that is very critical. So a time frame should be inserted in that bill so that we save the sovereignty of this country. Otherwise, a lot of land will be reverted to the landowners. And there will not be a state land, no government systems. It will collapse. So I believe it's a good bill, but it needs some fine-tuning so that language is properly articulated so that it does not affect land that has been acquired prior to independence. It remains state land. And after independence, any land that is not acquired properly can be reverted to the landowners as and when it fits. So I believe that's one area. I'm also looking at clan base, that review with Kate just brought out. Clan base, registration of customary land should be registered under clan base. And it is good. From a practical point of view, you look at it, clan don't own land. Clan is, if you like, a dominating authority. It just signifies that a territorial area of a certain place comes under the clan domain, but not necessarily precise ownership. It's a loose form of, if you like, it's a loose form of ownership, going by or via clan. So I think we'll have to improve on that by inserting family units, registering family units on customary land, and then bringing the clan rights on that. And I say this because it is the family unit that tills the land, build houses on land, make farming on land, and so forth. So by their activity, these activities justifies, legitimize ownership. If they've been doing that for the last 50, 20 years, 30 years, 50, or 60, 100 years, that is a sign of legitimacy of ownership. And they have evidences. They have their mumu grounds, the festival grounds. They have their graves. They have their places of gardening. And so those evidences points out to legitimacy of ownership. And this family belongs to a clan. So the clan, the concept of clan comes in, it rides on that. You know. So if you go back to use clan to register ownership, it sounds good, but in reality, does it synchronize, does it really addresses the issue of ownership, especially when it comes to project areas, especially when it comes to correct identification of individuals and benefit sharing. You see, clan is a larger area of, it encompasses different family members who may not necessarily agree to what's happening on their land. So it's always good. When we register a proposal to register customary land, it's always good, I believe, to include family units, family members. And in doing so, we already identified legitimate landowners. So when it comes to benefit sharing, business arrangement, investment, the legitimate landowners pop up and says one thing and everybody follows. But if we use clan as the model of recognizing ownership, then we bring in many other irrelevant parties in. They may be in the same clan, but they may be relevant too, in terms of legitimate ownership. So those are fine lines. We need to really synchronize and scrutinize those areas. In that way, we can correctly administer land administration fairly, equitably, and in a transparent way. Otherwise, we're using clan as the front. Clan is basically, it represents territorial domain, not necessarily direct ownership. You go to one area and they'll say, oh, from that mountain to that river, across the ridge, those areas or that land belongs to that clan. But when you go down to the precise locations, when it comes to development, precise points, the issue of clan fades, and then you see individuals popping up from that precise location. This is where my garden used to be. This is where my grandfather was buried. See, that's the issue. So we have to look at it, and first of all, we identify individual family units. Once we are satisfied with that, then we can say, which clan do you belong to? The clan comes on, it rides on these people. It's not the other way around. So my belief, it's a good reform, so I would ask the good minister to have a look at that aspect and introduce clan-based registration with room for making mention of family units. Then we are addressing two things. We are giving protection of 10-year rights, and also we are identifying legitimacy of ownership, precisely. And I hope that will drive success in this proposed reform bill.
How would you qualify ownership, perhaps in the legal interpretation?
Insofar as customary land is concerned, that is exactly where the Department of Lands and Physical Planning has called what the process is called a land investigation report. That is the best form of identifying land. We already have that. We only need to look at what is good and then introduce it into the process and then pick up. We leave those that is not working. And we already have some of the best policies. Like currently, Lands Department is using land investigation report as a process of identifying legitimacy, correct of people, owners. In ILG, that is absent. You look at big projects like gas projects happening, that is absent. I had a discussion with my former colleague, Secretary of Lands. Why aren't you people using ILG and another government has decided to do this way, clan-based social mapping, all the rest of it, which is a loose, I believe it's a loose form of precise land identification. We need to do we go back to Lands Department's way of identifying ownership. Land investigation report, I believe, is the best form. Because in that, it also allows the landowners to release land. They sign off with the state officials, the developers. And the land investigation, they investigate the land and what is on the land first. And then that is related to who owns that. So in a way, it's like finding out the precise owners. But if we go by clan approach, then we are opening the can of worms for many clans. A clan can be here on the impacted project, but the same clan can live miles away. Another clan, they're from the same clan names, but some people living on the project area, some people are living 3 kilometers, 5 kilometers out from the project site. So if we go by clan-based landowner identification, you pull in these people. Clan A is on the impact project site, Clan B is outside the impact area. And by virtue of going through clan-based registration or ownership recognition, we are indirectly pulling Clan B, whose interest is not affected on the project side, in, and that's where we create a lot of conflict and ownership issues. So the way is to go back and look at what the Department of Land already has, and then if we can amalgamate, introduce into a new bill, so that we fine-tune all these things to address ownership and equity benefits.
Now, Manavi, one of the main challenges facing customary landowners has been that customary land is not a bankable asset. To address this issue, you've proposed for the inclusion of a land bank to cater for customary landowners. How practical is this suggestion?
Firstly and foremost, I believe in transparency. If we fine-tune the way land is administered, records are kept, then we can improve chances of trust from the people, from the banks, from the developers. At the moment, there's a bit of question mark insofar as land administration is concerned, especially within the Department of Lands, in which I'm part of, but I'm sorry to say that, but really we need to really improve on the way we deal with land matters. And if people lose trust, foreign investment, foreign developers will lose trust as well, and they will not be willing to take customary land as collaterals. And that's the important. Trust is the basis upon business operates. So in my view, we need to improve on administration of land, how we administer, how we keep records, efficiency, how we manage and how we acquire those customary land, so that we provided the security, a proper security of tenure. And once those management and administration mechanisms are properly in place and functioning, I believe bankers, investors will be willing to, when they see that we can be able to manage land information system in a more transparent and efficient way. We also need to have laws, like a creating of a Customary Land Leasehold Act. A Customary Land Leasehold Act would also assist in giving the developers the assurance. So the legal aspect of that comes into play to assist and to give confidence to investors. My appeal is, if we can only ask the government to provide the finance, establish a land bank, with the relevant laws like Customary Land Leasehold Act, and then tightening up on the governance and the administration of the Land Act, the customary land, which is now featuring as a land authority. That authority can oversee the process, the efficiency, and the mechanism, and fine-tune those steps so that it addresses ownership and also security issues, so that land is brought to the frontier for security purposes and for development. So we give confidence to our investors, confidence to the people and the bankers as well. In that way, when we raise the level of trust and confidence, I believe it's workable. It's workable.
Now, Manavi, land mediation has always been a very teethering challenge, given that it's very costly, tedious, and a prolonged process, with cases and disputes sitting in the national courts for more than 10 to 20 years. What approach would you recommend to better improve this process?
There used to be, some years ago, there used to be a magisterial recruitment training program that's been, I guess, managed by magisterial services. If that can be brought back to train land mediators as land court magistrates, but there are some cases right around the country, in Bulolo, in Leh, Goroka, and I believe in many other major centers. Land court has been dragging for too long. Sometimes there's no magistrate, land court magistrates. And so matters continue to drag. So I think the government should set up a training system where magistrates, land court magistrates, can be recruited to train as basically land court magistrates, to sit on those land cases, land matters, to discharge judgment within the best possible time. So that's and I can look at Attorney General's office, because that mediation exercise that comes under the Office of the Attorney General.
The Lands Commission.
The Lands Commission. And so they have that duty to see that there's more land matters, land issues, land mediation, land courts, cases pending, say, over the last 20, 30 years. And we're not doing that, and it's just not looking good.
Do the district courts have powers to preside over such land matters?
Obviously, yes. They can. But they're also overwhelmed with other cases as well, criminal cases and other cases. But I'd like to see land court alone, so that, there's so much happening in the country. 20 years ago it's different, or 50 years ago it's different. Now population's grown, and pressure on land, and land-related conflicts, benefit sharing, and ownership issues are all piling up. So the government needs to step up on that and provide training for land court magistrates to address those legacy issues. Yeah.
Manavi Gene, thank you for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Well, viewers, that ends this episode of Infocus. Do join us again next week, Monday, on our regular time slot of 7 p.m. Till then, bye for now.
This program was proudly brought to you by Daytech PNG Limited.